So I'm going to be discussing the elements behind why United played quite well in the first half, why Leeds' central midfield positioning and pressing is so easy to play against, what caused United to collapse at the start of the second half, and the role of Pogba and Klich in both sides playing a similar sort of role. Before at the end I give a brief overview whilst also showing you the XG stats from this game. But before I go any further, for cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfever.com. I myself have bought a number of different jerseys from Jersey Fever, including this 2003-2004 Manchester United shirt with Ronaldo on the back, and this one's probably my favourite. So if you want a shirt like this, be sure to click the link in the description below and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL with a space to get 5% off. So from the start of the game we saw Leeds pressing aggressively as we would expect, with them pressing United's 2-3-2-3 build-up shape in a man-to-man 4-2-3-1, with Daniel James taking up a high narrow position on the right side, ready to pressurise Harry Maguire if he received the ball. When one of the centre-backs had the ball, Rodrigo, the centre-forward, would position himself to cut off the passing lane across to the other centre-back. This was done in order to force United over to one side, essentially cutting the pitch in half, making it smaller and therefore, in theory, making it easier for Leeds to press in that smaller area. However, even though Leeds did have some success with this, the issue with their pressing system is that because they press so religiously man-to-man, their midfield gets completely drawn out of position. See, when most sides press man-to-man, there is a limit. This means that if one of the opposition midfielders pulls very wide or deep, then the pressing player will not completely follow them, and instead will hold a high central position to still cover the centre of the pitch. But Leeds don't do this. Their midfield and pretty much every player on the pitch would follow their player as though they were given old-fashioned man-to-man marking instructions. Matthias Klich was on McTominay, Forshaw was on Pogba, and Robin Koch was on Fernandes, and United knew exactly how to expose Leeds. Each one of their central midfielders would either drop deep or pull out wide, and the Leeds midfielder would follow, and this would expose a massive space in the centre of the pitch, where Maguire or Lindelof's ball carrying ability would be vital. Both centre-backs, but the Swede in particular, were very good at driving past Rodrigo and through the midfield line, and Lindelof did this for United's second goal. Ironically, for this goal, Forshaw wasn't following Pogba, who had pushed up high onto the left side of central midfield, but Lindelof still drives forward with the ball, plays a slick 1-2 with Jadon Sancho, who is fantastic when it comes to quick interplay in the middle third. Lindelof is now running at Leeds' back line, probably has a nosebleed from being so high up the pitch, and chooses the right option in laying it off for Sancho, whose vision and technique to play a delicately lofted pass over the Leeds back line is perfect. And for some reason, none of the Leeds players even attempt to track the runs into the box, and Bruno Fernandes sneaks into position like Prince Andrew at an under-16s disco before nodding the ball into the ground past Meslier. Now before this, United had taken the lead from a set piece. Llorente is in charge of marking Maguire and goes for a standing takedown, probably looking for a submission whilst on the deck, but Maguire is determined to get his slab head on the ball, already thinking about the ridiculous celebration he will do. He barges past Llorente, who is no match for the 15-stone fridge, and Meslier might as well be watching from the stands because he's absolutely in no man's land and can only watch the ball go over his head into the net. So 2-0 up in the first half, United seemed pretty comfortable and they were playing very well. United were pressing better than Leeds in my opinion. Leeds would drop into a 2-4-3-1 shape in possession, and United would press in a 4-4-2 shape, with Fernandes being the press leader alongside Ronaldo, with both cutting the passing lanes into the double pivot of Forshaw and Koch behind them. United's midfield line would push up the pitch, giving United a vertically compact pressing front six. When the ball would go into one of Leeds' double pivot, McTominay or Pogba would push out of the midfield line, applying the pressure and stopping them being able to turn, and usually forcing them out wide, from where United could then squeeze the play with the fullback on that side, pushing up onto their wide player, as Wan-Bissaka is doing here to Harrison, and this press was largely successful in the first half, with Leeds unable to progress the ball forward as much as they probably would have liked. However, to be fair, United weren't exactly controlling possession either, and this was because both sides were pressing so aggressively that there were constant turnovers in possession, and that's why up until Ronaldo's chance around the 25th minute, neither side were able to really create a clear-cut chance. But there was one player who stood out in the first half from the rest. Paul Pogba was the man of the match in my opinion, despite getting substituted around the 60th minute mark, as in possession he seemed to have all the time in the world, standing up players before gliding past them and creating one of the best chances in the game when he ran down the left channel, receiving the ball from Luke Shaw's throw, and then he toys with Forshaw before quickly moving his body and shifting the ball, enabling him to drive past Forshaw, and he puts in a fantastic low cross across the 6-yard box, and Ronaldo runs just ahead of the ball and couldn't quite get the contact he wanted, but it was still a very good save from Meslier. I think this game showed how important Pogba can be for United, and I would say he's United's most important player at the moment. I think the change of system to a 4-3-3 does get the best out of him. In Solskjaer's 4-2-3-1 system, Pogba wasn't given as much licence to push further forward in between the lines, having to play the role of a deeper lying playmaker. However, Pogba without doubt is best in the final third, and I think allowing him to play the role of a Mezzala pushing up into the left-sided half space and making runs into the channel suits his game best. If you do want one of these Pogba celebration phone cases, or a Ronaldo, Cantona or Fergie one, then click the link in the description to go to El Clasico cases. Anything you do buy will be helping to support the channel, and if you use code AF you will also get 25% off. We also saw Matthias Klich perform a similar sort of role to Pogba from the left side of Leeds' central midfield. Both Forshaw and Klich would push up in behind McTominay and Pogba when Leeds had possession, and Klich would often look to make a run in between Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof, trying to get into that left-sided channel. He was also Leeds' best creative player, certainly in the first half, creating a half chance for Harrison within the opening 5 minutes, with a fantastic dink over to him, but he couldn't get over the half volley and put it over the bar. But the reason why Leeds are so easy to play against stems not just from their pressing, but also from their positioning in possession. As I said earlier, Leeds use a strict man-to-man pressing system, which means it's pretty easy for the opposition to drag them out of central areas by simply having their central players pull wide or drop deep, which then allows one of their forwards to drop into the space to receive the ball, or allow one of their deeper players on the ball to drive into that space. But we also saw that when there is a turnover, because Klich and Forshaw were positioned so high, United's central players had massive amounts of space to counter-attack into, and we saw this throughout the game. I think that if Leeds do want to concede this, then they have to either have the central midfielders ahead of the deep single pivot hold deeper positions in possession, or have the fullbacks invert to cover this space, as otherwise teams will just run through them like a Vindaloo. Going into the second half, you would have thought that United were in control. They had a warning when Klich makes a run from deep in midfield and exploits Maguire's high positioning, running onto the header from Gerrard, but his shot wasn't troubling De Gea. Rodrigo then overhits a cross and catches De Gea out, a pretty fluky mistake that does happen once in a while, but United completely lost their heads after this. Leeds then attack almost straight after scoring, and there needs to be more leadership in United's back line, as the pitch was deteriorating, and so when Wan-Bissaka receives the ball in his own defensive third, rather than just trying to play out and inviting Leeds' high press, he should be just looking to manage the game at this point, go long into Ronaldo and take the pressure off United for a bit. He doesn't do this and plays the pass into Fernandes, who in fairness should be more aware of the pressure coming behind him, but it's a fantastic pressure from Forshaw, and from here Lingard should stop the cross from Daniel James, but James plays a fantastic low cross, and the real mistake comes from Luke Shaw at the back post, who allows Rafinha to run off of him and put the ball into the empty net. And this is a consistent problem with Luke Shaw that I've noticed. He seems to go to sleep in these types of situations, not being positionally aware of players in behind him. So now United have managed to somehow squander a 2-0 lead within 2 minutes, and with the pitch being borderline waterlogged, it looked like United had completely lost control. Wan-Bissaka did excel with his tackling, seemingly spending more time on the floor making slide tackles than on his feet. But ultimately United did manage it well in harsh conditions. When Ranić brought off Pogba, I was confused because Pogba had been United's best ball progressor and creator, but the decision ultimately paid off. Here we see that Fernandes has the ball on the right side, and there is absolutely no protection in central midfield for Leeds. Forshaw's been dragged over to the left side, and Klich and Struijk have been caught way up the pitch. Ronaldo's layoff onto the on-running Fred gets United into this position, and when Fred moves the ball onto Sancho, he makes the exact run he should be making, and Sancho's timing and weight of pass is perfect once again, and Fred again smashes the ball into the Leeds net. United do look tremendous when they counter-attack quickly, because players like Sancho, Pogba and Fernandes in the attack all have the vision, timing and weight of pass in these situations, and in particular we have seen Sancho's game go up a level or two since United have been transitioning their attack a lot quicker than they were. Leeds did play into United's hands, and if they ever want to become more than a lower table side, then they are going to have to adapt their system, particularly in games like this, because there's absolutely no resistance in their central midfield. And whilst United were good, they were almost encouraged to do this because of the way Leeds played. United then sealed the victory, and once again Fred was involved. He played a very good forward pass into Fernandes, whose flick turn was sensational, even if Struijk did turn like a bus. And then Elanga's finish under Meslier did make up for the chance he had missed earlier on in the game. So overall, United deserved the victory, even if the lapse in concentration after Rodrigo's goal was concerning, recording an XG of 2.61 to Leeds' 1.74. The conditions did make this quite a unique game, as did Leeds' absurd midfield positioning and pressing at times, so that has to be factored in. But I do think United are steadily improving under Rangnick, and without doubt this is aided by Pogba's return, as he gives United that ball progressing ability from central midfield that they did lack in his absence. And I think Pogba has shown that he is world class and one of the top 5 central midfielders in world football, and so if he does leave in the summer at the end of his contract, he's going to be a massive loss. I did do a video looking at 5 potential Paul Pogba replacements, as well as a video on the creative central midfielder I would sign for United, both of which will be linked in the description below, as will my analysis of James Garner and Hannibal Mejbri, which I think will both be relevant to the Pogba transfer situation. So thank you for watching. For the phone cases, click the link in the description, and I will be doing a video analysis of the Atletico Madrid game in the Champions League, so subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when that comes out.